Welcome to your Monday, you guys. Welcome to In My Car. I am Sean Starr. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking, subscribing to my channel over the year, as we're having lots of fun. And apparently so are the Canadiens, you guys. Can you believe it? It took them games 49 and 50 for them to put together their first two-game winning streak of the season. So essentially, a winning streak. The Canadiens are on a winning streak. It is game day. The Habs and Leafs tonight at the Bell Center in what is the first time since really the playoffs, an opening night where a good chunk of fans are going to apparently show up tonight. That's right, 50% capacity for the Bell Center ahead of the Canadiens and Leafs tonight live on TSN 690 as the Canadiens handled their business in an entertaining way, right? Like there's a bunch of questions I think we need to ask ourselves in the aftermath of Martin St. Louis now 5 games deep into his venture as Canadiens head coach. When did the team quit on Dominic Ducharme? Because I think it's evident now, right, that clearly they tuned Dominic Ducharme out. They wanted arguably nothing to do with the former Canadiens coach, to the point where the 7-1 drubbing at the hands of the Devils was basically the straw that broke the back. And the rest is history as Martin St. Louis has come in and looked pretty good. There's a few obviouses. One, the Canadiens aren't getting blown out anymore. Two, certain players, a couple of them primarily, are completely and utterly different under St. Louis than they ever were under Dominic Ducharme. Hello, Cole Caulfield. Hello, Jeff Petrie. It's uncanny that these guys completely have turned their games around. And I'm not here to tell you that I think Jeff Petrie quit on Dominic Ducharme or Cole Caulfield quit on Dominic Ducharme or really anybody else quit on these guys. You know what I think happened? Honestly, you know what I really think happened? I think Dominic Ducharme was scared. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean that in a professional way, in a way where I think Dominic Ducharme was scared to lose his job, that Dominic Ducharme was scared to lose the veterans and then the room. But he did so unintentionally by protecting veterans, by being cautious, by being timid with the decisions that he would choose to make along with his assistants. You see Marty St. Louis comes in, right? Totally unafraid to double shift guys, totally unafraid to throw Cole Caulfield out there, totally unafraid to make daring decisions. And we know why that is. Because the Canadiens are in a lost season and there's nothing to lose here. And as I've told you repeatedly, go back to watch my previous 2 or 3 video blogs where I told you Martin St. Louis was hired on as the developmental coach. But because the team got embarrassed 7-1 after their 8-day layoff to New Jersey, Martin St. Louis was expedited into the head coaching role and put an interim tag on his ass. You know what that means? It means that if Martin St. Louis doesn't like coaching, or doesn't like the mix of this team and says, you know what, this just isn't for me, they're going to move Martin St. Louis into development. And if Martin St. Louis maximizes the most potential out of this roster, Martin St. Louis will stay on as the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. So they kind of accidentally fell into this unintentionally, though I remind you, they wanted Martin St. Louis. And Cole Caulfield is a completely different player. And I don't think it's because they're both diminutive players. I really do think that there's this relatability factor to Martin St. Louis that comes in. He's instantly credible. He instantly provides a good amount of inspiration that these guys are able to follow. And he actually allows them to be their good, creative hockey playing selves. And I go back to Dominic Ducharme, who I think is a good hockey guy, but he was in over his head and made decisions based out of fear. And that's what I think cost this team. And these guys, these players, they know a BS from legitimacy. And I think they see Martin St. Louis come in. He allows guys to be creative. He allows you to work outside the box occasionally. It doesn't mean that it's loosey-goosey. There's still a system in place. But he allows his playmakers and his offensively gifted players to do what they're paid to do. Josh Anderson, hello, guys. I mean, you know, all season long, when Sam Montembeault got steamrolled behind the net and nobody, including Jeff Petrie and others, came to his defense, what happened on Sunday afternoon in Long Island? Cole Caulfield gets taken a few liberties against him. Josh Anderson steps up. None of this nonsense is going on here. And look, Josh Anderson's in the trade mix. Calgary and Brad Treliving tried hard to get Josh Anderson. I want to believe that Jeff Gorton and Ken Hughes cannot afford to let Josh Anderson go. I am a big believer that you need bodies. You need good hockey players to show the next crop of forwards coming up how it's done, not an entire team littered with inexperienced players as the Montreal Canadiens try to make moves. I do believe, guys, that Ben Chiarot will be gone sometime this week. I also think Artturi Lehkonen is likely gone soon. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if Artturi Lehkonen ends up in Washington. Look for the Montreal Canadiens to try to get another goaltender inside the organization by going out and maybe dealing Artturi Lehkonen to a team like the Washington Capitals. So kind of keep that in the mix as we move closer. It is February 21st today. So yes, we are now legitimately 1 week away from NHL trade deadline. And you wonder about the fates of guys like Jeff Petrie. Again, I remind you, I think Ben Chiarot is gone this week. And now you wonder about what's to come for the Canadiens' core group of blue liners, right? You've got Harris, you've got Caden Gooley, you've got a group of young defensemen that I think will begin to show that they are the future. And it's up to Kent Hughes and Gordon to round out the rest of the group. And obviously a lot hinges on Carey Price, his availability. What's he going to look like? When is he coming back? And I'm a believer. I know that this season is lost, and I'm not really worried about the Canadiens winning a bunch of games in garbage time and getting themselves out of a top 10 pick in this summer's NHL entry draft. I don't see it happening. You know why I don't see it happening? Because the Canadiens, I maintain, are going to start trading guys away, and they're going to lose talent. You know, say what you want about Jeff Petrie and his bum season. Undeniable. He's having a bum season, but he's played better in the last 5 games. I think he's gone. Ben Chiarot's gone, and the Canadiens will continue to liquidate assets and bring back prospects and draft picks and begin the process of rebuilding. So that alone leads me to believe that the Canadiens aren't really going to climb up the standings and be the lovable loser, be the first team to miss the playoffs, be a bubble team, so to speak. I just don't see that happening. So it took the Montreal Canadiens more or less 45 games to wake up, and now they're here. Now they're fun. Now they're exciting, and then it's what it's about. Like, if you're a Canadiens fan, you understand that this team is garbage, terrible. Understood, fine. It is what it is, as they like to say. But why are you watching? What's the reason to watch? Cole Caulfield is the reason to watch. Alexander Romanov is a reason to watch. Guys that are going to be a part of the future. I don't hear anybody on RDS talking about trading Cole Caulfield for Nico Hischier anymore. Norman Flynn, don't see that happening. And the future is starting to look a little bit brighter. By the way, tip of the cap to colleague Eric Engels of Sportsnet. If you haven't read Engels' piece in Sportsnet, where he had a lengthy conversation with new president of hockey ops and VP of hockey ops, Jeff Gorton. An unbelievable, fantastically put together piece by Eric Engels at Sportsnet. Basically, if you haven't read it, the Cole's notes are as follows. You're not surprised when I tell you that Marc Bergevin is more or less a hockey dinosaur, right? Like, he talks about character, he talks about leadership, he talks about playing the right way. He talks about things that aren't necessarily measurable, though we can all agree they're important facets to make up a very good hockey team that potentially could win a Stanley Cup. And Jeff Gorton told Eric Engels that the Canadiens really didn't have a front office analytics department. They were missing a lot of key components for the modernized NHL team that is here in 2022, ready to compete, understanding that not all players are built the same, understanding that analytics isn't a 4-letter word, it's just another way to say information, and that the Montreal Canadiens front office wasn't built that way under Marc Bergevin in 9.5 years, which, it says a few things to me. It says that Jeff Molson is sometimes a hands-off owner. That's the impression I get when you look at the fact that he gave Marc Bergevin basically the keys to the organization and said, go. I vetted you. We've kicked tires. We've done the interview process. And we believe internally that Marc Bergevin is the man for the job. And they left him there for 9.5 years. They left him there for 9.5 years. And there is part of me that does believe that COVID-19 saved Marc Bergevin's job when it seemed like, 2.5 years ago that Marc Bergevin was bitching about a contract extension, didn't feel that he was getting paid, didn't feel he was getting enough money, enough respect, all that stuff. And the contract stalled. And I think at that point, Jeff Molson was ready to move away from Marc Bergevin. And then COVID hit. And then the NHL gave Montreal and Chicago a charitable berth into the play-in round, and the Canadiens beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. Remember that? If not for that, I think Marc Bergevin is probably fired before that COVID-19 puts the league on pause, Canadiens get in the playoffs. And then, obviously, next year they reached the Stanley Cup final. So I really do believe the pandemic put a bit of a blocker in front of Marc Bergevin, where ultimately 9.5 years later, in terms of the front office and modernizing the team, he has done irreparable damage. It's going to take a long time for this team to modernize and to get to where they need to be. I am choosing to believe that Gordon and Hughes are the right men for the job. I just get this impression, guys, and maybe you see it differently than I do. I get the impression that they're no nonsense, no BS. It's cold-hearted business, and that's the approach I'm getting from those two guys. And look, we're in the honeymoon phase, je comprends, and we'll see what happens moving forward, where everything's hunky-dory as of right now. But I'm liking the first impressions that these guys are given to me. The comments are coming in. What up, Angelo? Who else has gone by trade deadline? As I mentioned, Angelo, if you're just joining us, I think Ben Sherrod is gone this week. Don't hold my feet to the fire if it doesn't happen, but it's coming. Josh Anderson was really, really being pursued hard by the Calgary Flames and Brad Treliving. I believe that right now, Ken Hughes and Jeff Gordon have Josh Anderson on the no-trade list, right there with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. So as much as Brad Treliving and the Flames wanted Josh Anderson, and I know there are other teams that wanted him too, that's something that's out there. Arturi Lehkonen to the Washington Capitals is something else that's out there. I think the Canadiens are looking for more insurance in the goaltending position, so maybe there's something there. But as of now, I haven't heard anything as far as Jeff Petrie is concerned, but I believe we're not that far removed from Jeff Petrie, who I think will be gone between now and March 21st, as we're nearing, we are now a month away from NHL trade deadline. And the Montreal Canadiens on game day, taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I just want to touch on Martin St. Louis for a second and why I think he's doing such a great job as the coach of the Montreal Canadiens. And you know, as I've mentioned already, I think he's easy to follow. I think he's easy to be inspired by. And I think Martin St. Louis knows that safe is dead. You see what I'm saying? Like, Martin St. Louis really has nothing to lose. He wasn't going to be the coach of the Canadiens. He was going to be a front office guy with Vinny Lecavalier. But because of the New Jersey game, it threw shit sideways and it forced him behind the bench. And it's like a sink or swim. Let's see what you got. Because the team has nothing to lose. They want to lose games. Not that they're tanking intentionally, of course. But they know they have to lose. And they know that Dominic Ducharme isn't the guy. And so they threw Martin St. Louis in and said, let's see what happens. They have an interim tag. There's no promises. There's no guarantees. There's no contracts. It's an experiment. Let's see. It's an experiment on both sides. You know, the Canadiens could like Martin St. Louis, but Martin St. Louis could think that it's just not a match for him personally and the team, and he wants to go in the front office and work on development. Possible. It's totally possible. And the Canadiens will begin the process of finding a new guy to be the next head coach. So they found themselves in this spot, and it's working well. And that's why I think Martin St. Louis, in the 5 games he's been behind the bench for, it's worked. Because he's got nothing to lose, guys. He's playing, as they say in the gambling world, with house money. It's all profit for Martin St. Louis. He's got a job. He's going to get paid. He's going to be a Canadian. Whether it's front office or behind the bench, it doesn't really matter. So go out there, throw caution to the wind, double shift your best line, throw Caulfield out there, put him out there all the time on a power play, put him out there in a shootout, and the guy's eating. The guy's feasting. Caulfield is feasting. He's a completely different player. And I was wrong. I was like, what are you doing having Caulfield here? And part of that was just I'm not a Dominic Ducharme guy and haven't been since game 4. And I was like, get him away from this team, put him in Laval, let him excel there. But look, you get the right coach for the right player at the right time, and Cole Caulfield's a completely different guy. And I think Canadian fans should be thanking John Tortorella for what's happening here. Because when Martin St. Louis was making the trip from Connecticut to Montreal to join the Canadiens behind the bench for his first game, he spent most of that trip in a phone conversation with John Tortorella, who told him that coaching safe is death. And you know what? Say what you want about Tortorella. I'm not a big fan of what I think is hypocrisy, where, you know, he'll shoot down the media, print, broadcast, otherwise, and then, you know, he's in between coaching jobs and the guy goes and takes media paychecks when he shits all over the media and has his entire career. But, you know, you're not coaching, so you need a paycheck. You know, he's on TSN or he's on ESPN, being a member of the media fraternity, right? Not a big fan of that. But anyways, I'm a fan of Tortorella, the coach, because I appreciate people who don't bullshit. Like, you always know where you stand with John Tortorella, and that's a good and a bad thing. Like, if you're playing terribly, he's going to get in your grill and he's going to tell you, you're playing like shit. Pick it up. And when things are going well, you know where you stand with Tortorella. And I think he's ingrained that in Martin St. Louis' style. And it helps when, again, I remind you that St. Louis got nothing to lose. He's got everything to win here. So throw caution to the wind, let it rip. And the Montreal Canadiens, it took them 50 games, but they are funner to watch. Full stop. I enjoyed Sunday's game. It was a lot of fun. I enjoy watching good hockey. I mean, winning is great. I love winning. I always want to win. But, you know, the Canadiens don't need to win tonight. I'm good with that. They don't need to beat Toronto. By the way, I think we're going to see a lot of goals tonight. Over 7.5 if you want a little extra juice. I think in 5 of Toronto's last 9 games, they've hit over 7.5. So I'm going to go over 7.5 in tonight's Habs and Leafs game. You'll watch it on TSN 690. Dan Robertson and Sergio Momesso with the call. And looking forward to another interesting week as we wind down the month of February. It's the 21st today. That means we're closer to seeing live comedy at Poutineville, Vaudreuil-Dorion. Check out the wonderful, the amazingly talented, fall off your chair, laugh your ass off funny, Derek Seguin. If you guys have never seen Derek Seguin, you have to go see Derek Seguin. He's coming to Poutineville, Vaudreuil. All the details online at poutinevillevaudreuil.com. He's coming in a couple of weeks, so get your tickets now, poutinevillevaudreuil.com. And, of course, as I tell you all the time, guys, I put gas in the other day. It was $1.92 for 91, so super gas. It's going to go over $2. K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, proud sponsors of us here in the car with Star. Go support me, support my sponsors, K-Stop Gas Bar, Highway 138 in Ganawage. That means you don't pay the taxes. You don't pay. Next time you're at the gas pump on the island of Montreal, look at the chart. Look how much of your money goes to paying taxes. Go to K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur. Take the extra drive. Go to K-Stop, Highway 138 in Ganawage. Great snacks, great beverages, great smokes if that's your thing, and cheap gas, tax-free. You're welcome. So, yeah, proud sponsors within the car with Star. We love K-Stop. We love Poutineville. We love all you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the comments. We'll be back, obviously, this week. Tomorrow morning, bright and early on TSN 690, me and my boy, Connor McKenna, in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. Are you worried? Come on, guys. Are you worried about the Canadiens? Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up in the comments if you're legitimately worried. I will talk you out of this. Don't worry. The Canadiens aren't going to win games to ruin their draft pick this summer. Bank on it. Don't bank on it. I think they're not going to. I believe they're not going to. So are you worried? Hit me up in the comments if you're worried. Tell me why you're worried. And share. Tell your friends in the car with Star. We love everybody. And the pandemic and the restrictions and the vax passport and the masks and everything else. I was at the gym today. Fuck, it was great, man. Oh, it's nice a little bit. It's like 3 degrees. I want to be optimistic. Nicer weather. A little bit more freedom, so to speak, as we move around this beautiful Monday. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the hockey game today, and I'll catch you soon.